Sarah wiped the sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. Her feet hurt so much that every step felt like walking on broken glass. She had been working at the restaurant since 6 in the morning, and now it was almost 9 at night. This was her second shift of the day, and she still had 2 more hours to go before she could finally go home. The restaurant was busy tonight. Every table was full of people eating, talking, and laughing. The kitchen was hot and loud, and the other waitresses were running around just as fast as she was. Sarah carried heavy trays back and forth, her arms aching from the weight, but she could not stop. She could not slow down. She needed every dollar she could earn. Her mother was sick. Very sick. The hospital bills kept coming in the mail, one after another. Each envelope felt heavier than the last. Sarah would open them and see numbers that made her stomach hurt. Thousands of dollars. Tens of thousands of dollars. Money she did not have. Money she did not know how to get. So she worked. She worked morning shifts and night shifts. She worked on her days off. She picked up extra hours whenever anyone asked. She smiled at customers even when she wanted to cry. She carried heavy trays even when her whole body begged her to rest. Because what else could she do? Her mother needed help, and Sarah was the only one who could provide it. Tonight, the dining room looked beautiful. Soft lights hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over the white tablecloths. Flowers sat in the middle of each table. The smell of expensive food filled the air. This was not the kind of place Sarah could ever afford to eat at. But she worked here, serving people who did not think twice about spending $200 on dinner. She noticed him as soon as he walked in. Everyone did. The famous actor, the one from all those action movies. He was taller than she expected, and he wore a simple black shirt and jeans. He did not look around for attention. He just walked quietly to a table by the window and sat down alone. Sarah's manager rushed over to her. His face was red and excited. "Table 12, he said, pointing to where the actor sat. "You take that one. Be professional. Don't mess this up. Do you understand?" Sarah nodded. Her heart was already beating faster. She had served famous people before. The restaurant was in Los Angeles, after all. But this felt different. Maybe it was because she was so tired. Maybe it was because her mind was full of worry about her mother. Maybe it was because she had not slept more than 4 hours in the past 3 days. She took a deep breath and walked to his table. Her legs felt shaky, but she forced herself to smile. "Good evening," she said. "Can I start you off with something to drink?" He looked up at her and smiled. It was a kind smile, not the fake smile she saw on so many faces. "Just water, please," he said. "Thank you." She wrote down his order. Her hands were trembling just a little bit. She hoped he did not notice. When she came back with his water, he ordered his food. A steak cooked medium, a salad, nothing fancy. He was polite and patient, not demanding like some customers could be. Sarah wrote everything down carefully. She did not want to make any mistakes. Not tonight. Not with him. Not with her manager watching from across the room. She went to the kitchen and gave the order to the cook. Then she went back to work, carrying food to other tables, refilling drinks, clearing away dirty plates. Her body moved automatically now. She had done this so many times that she did not even have to think about it. 20 minutes later, the cook called out that the order was ready. Sarah grabbed a large tray and carefully placed the hot plates on it. The steak looked perfect. The salad was fresh and green. Everything looked exactly right. She lifted the tray, feeling its weight settle onto her shoulder and hand. This was when everything changed. Sarah started walking across the dining room. The tray was heavy, but she had carried heavier ones before. She took one step, then another. She was halfway to the table when she felt it. Her grip was slipping. Her tired fingers could not hold on the way they should. She tried to adjust, tried to shift the weight, but it was too late. The tray tilted. She grabbed at it desperately, but her exhausted muscles would not respond fast enough. The tray fell. Time seemed to slow down. She watched as the plate slid off the tray and crashed to the floor. The sound was so loud. Glass breaking. Plates shattering. The steak hit the floor with a wet slap. Salad scattered everywhere. Sauce splashed across the clean wooden floor in dark red streaks that looked almost like blood. The entire restaurant went silent. Every single person stopped eating, stopped talking, stopped moving. They all turned to look at her. She could feel their eyes on her skin like hot spotlights. Sarah stood there frozen. The empty tray hung from her hand. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. She felt heat rushing to her face. Her eyes started to burn with tears. Not here, not now, not in front of everyone. She looked at the mess on the floor. Glass everywhere, food everywhere, and then she looked up at the table by the window. The actor was staring at her. His dinner was gone, ruined, splattered across the floor instead of sitting in front of him where it should be. Her manager was already moving toward her. His face was no longer red with excitement. Now it was red with anger. She could see other waitresses stopping what they were doing, looking at her with pity and worry in their eyes. Sarah felt tears starting to run down her cheeks. She could not stop them. 3 weeks of exhaustion, worry, and fear all came crashing down at once. She had tried so hard. She had worked so much. And now this. Now she had messed everything up in the worst possible way. Her knees felt weak. Without thinking, she dropped down to the floor and started picking up the broken pieces. Her hands were shaking so badly that she could barely hold on to anything. Tears dripped from her face onto the mess below. She needed to clean this up. She needed to fix this. She needed to make it right somehow. But how could she? The damage was done. The food was ruined. The famous actor's meal was destroyed. Everyone was watching her breakdown in the middle of the restaurant. This was the worst moment of her life, and it was happening in front of dozens of people. She picked up a piece of broken plate. Then another. Her vision was blurred from crying. She did not notice when someone walked up behind her. She did not see the shadow fall across the floor where she knelt. She was too focused on the mess, too focused on her failure, too focused on trying not to completely fall apart. Sarah's mind was racing. She could not stop thinking about all the terrible things that were about to happen. She had worked as a waitress for 5 years. 5 long years of serving food, dealing with customers, and trying her best to make everyone happy. In those 5 years, she had seen what happened when things went wrong. She remembered a man who threw his coffee at a waitress because it was too cold. She remembered a woman who screamed so loud that other customers left the restaurant. She remembered a businessman who got a waiter fired because his steak was cooked wrong. People could be cruel. People could be mean, especially when they felt disrespected or inconvenienced. And this was not just any customer. This was a famous person, a movie star, someone important, someone whose time was worth more money than she would make in a year, maybe in 10 years. His evening was ruined. His meal was on the floor, and it was all her fault. Sarah's hands moved frantically, grabbing at pieces of broken plate. She needed to clean this up fast. She needed to make the mess disappear. Maybe if she worked quickly enough, maybe if she fixed everything, it would not be so bad. But she knew that was not true. She knew there was no fixing this. She could hear her manager's footsteps getting closer, heavy, angry footsteps. She knew that sound. She had heard it before when other servers made mistakes. Her manager, Richard, was a short man with a round belly and a thin mustache. He cared about 2 things, making money and looking good in front of important customers. Right now, Sarah had made him look very bad. The tears kept coming. She could not stop them. She felt so embarrassed, so ashamed. Everyone was still watching her. She could feel their stares like needles in her back. Some people were probably taking pictures with their phones. By tomorrow, this would probably be on the internet. Clumsy waitress ruins movie star's dinner. She could already imagine the headlines. Her co-workers were watching too. Maria, who always helped her during busy shifts. Tom, who made jokes in the kitchen to keep everyone smiling. Jenny, who had trained her when she first started working here. They all stood frozen, watching her fall apart. They wanted to help, but they could not. Not with Richard storming over. Not with all these customers watching. Sarah thought about her mother lying in the hospital bed. She thought about the medical bills stacked on her kitchen table at home. She thought about how she needed this job, how she could not afford to lose this job, how there was no backup plan, no safety net, no savings account to fall back on. If Richard fired her right now, right here in front of everyone, what would she do? How would she pay for anything? The thought made her cry harder. She tried to hold it in, but she could not. Her shoulders shook. Her breath came in short gasps. She kept picking up pieces of broken plate, even though her hands were shaking so much that she nearly cut herself on the sharp edges. In her mind, she could already hear what the actor would say. She had seen his movies. He played tough guys, strong men who did not take any nonsense from anyone. He would probably be angry. He had every right to be angry. He came here for a nice quiet dinner, and instead he got this disaster. He probably wanted to relax after a long day of work, and now his evening was ruined because of her. Maybe he would yell at her. Some customers yelled. They raised their voices and said terrible things. They called servers stupid, incompetent, worthless. The words always hurt, even when Sarah tried to pretend they did not. She would go home after those shifts and cry in the shower where nobody could hear her. Or maybe he would be cold. Silent and cold. Some customers were like that. They would not yell, but they would give you a look that made you feel like dirt under their shoe. They would speak in a quiet, sharp voice that cut deeper than any screaming. They would tell the manager that you were the worst server they had ever had, that you should be fired immediately, or maybe he would not say anything at all. Maybe he would just stand up and leave, walk out without a word, and then call the restaurant later to complain. That happened too. Sarah had seen servers lose their jobs because of phone calls that came hours after the customer left. Richard was almost there. Sarah could see his shoes now. Expensive black leather shoes that he polished every morning. She did not want to look up at his face. She knew what she would see there: anger, disappointment, maybe even hatred. Richard had told her just last week that she was one of his best workers, that she was reliable and hardworking, but that would not matter now. Not after this. She picked up another piece of broken plate. Her fingers were wet with tears. The sauce from the steak had stained the knees of her black pants. She could smell the food on the floor, the expensive steak that cost $45. The restaurant would probably make her pay for it. Take it out of her paycheck, money she desperately needed. Other servers were starting to move now. Someone went to get a mop. Someone else brought out a broom. They were trying to help clean up the mess, but they kept their distance. Nobody wanted to be associated with this disaster. Nobody wanted Richard to be mad at them too. Sarah finally let out a sob. A real one. Loud and ugly and full of all the pain she had been holding inside. She was so tired, so incredibly tired. Tired of working. Tired of worrying. Tired of trying to hold everything together when everything kept falling apart. She thought about this morning. She had woken up at 5. She made coffee but did not have time to drink it. She drove to work in her old car that made strange noises and probably needed repairs she could not afford. She worked the breakfast shift, serving eggs and pancakes to people who did not tip well. Then she had 30 minutes to eat some leftover bread from the kitchen before the dinner shift started. She had not sat down in hours. Her feet were swollen inside her shoes. Her back ached from carrying heavy trays. Her head hurt from not drinking enough water. She had been running on empty for so long that she could barely remember what it felt like to be rested. And now this, the one thing she had been trying so hard to avoid, the one thing she had nightmares about: dropping a tray, making a terrible mistake, embarrassing herself in the restaurant in front of important people. Sarah's hands found another piece of plate. She held it tightly, feeling the smooth ceramic against her palm. She wanted to disappear. She wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. She wanted to be anywhere but here, on her knees in a fancy restaurant with everyone staring at her while she cried. She could hear whispers now, customers talking quietly to each other, wondering what would happen next, wondering if the famous actor would get angry, wondering if this poor waitress would get fired, making bets probably, entertainment for their evening out. Sarah finally forced herself to take a deep breath. She needed to pull herself together. She needed to stop crying and face whatever was coming. She needed to apologize, to beg for forgiveness, to promise it would never happen again, even though promises did not fix broken plates or ruined meals. She started to look up, started to lift her head to face her manager, to face the actor whose dinner she had destroyed, to face the consequences of her mistake. But before she could fully raise her eyes, something happened that she did not expect at all. A hand touched her shoulder. The touch was gentle, soft, not angry at all. Sarah froze. She was still kneeling on the floor, surrounded by broken plates and spilled food. Her hands were full of sharp pieces of ceramic. Her face was wet with tears, and someone was touching her shoulder in a way that felt almost kind. She looked up slowly, her vision still blurry from crying. And there he was, the actor, the famous movie star. He was kneeling on the floor next to her, actually kneeling on the dirty restaurant floor in his nice jeans right there in the mess of food and broken dishes. His face was close to hers, and he was looking at her with an expression she had not expected to see. He looked worried, concerned, like she was the one who mattered in this situation. Not his ruined dinner. "Hey," he said softly. His voice was deep and calm. "Stop, just stop for a second." Sarah stared at him. She could not understand what was happening. Why was he down here with her? Why was he not angry? Why was he looking at her like that? "Are you hurt?" he asked. His eyes moved down to her hands, which were still holding pieces of broken plate. "Did any of the glass cut you? Did you get burned by the hot food?" The questions confused her. He was asking if she was okay. She had destroyed his dinner. She had made a scene in front of everyone. She had embarrassed him in the restaurant. And he was asking if she was hurt. Sarah shook her head. She tried to speak, but her throat was too tight. No words would come out. She just stared at him with wide, wet eyes, completely shocked. He reached out and gently took the broken pieces from her hands. His movements were careful, like he was worried about her cutting herself. He set the pieces aside on the floor, away from both of them. Then he looked back at her face. "Good," he said. "That is what matters. You are not hurt. Everything else is just things. Things can be replaced." Sarah finally found her voice. It came out as a whisper. "I am so sorry." "I am so sorry," he shook his head. "No, you do not need to apologize," but she did. She had to. "Your dinner. I dropped your dinner. I made a mess." He held up one hand, stopping her. "It is okay, really, it is just food." "They can make more food." Sarah felt more tears coming. But these tears were different. They were not tears of shame or fear. They were tears of confusion and relief and something else she could not name. This was not how this was supposed to go. Customers did not kneel on the floor with servers. Famous people did not comfort the help. This was not normal. This was not what she had expected at all. The entire restaurant was still silent. Everyone was watching this scene. They had all expected anger. They had all expected yelling or complaining or demands to see the manager. But instead, they were watching a famous actor kneel on a dirty floor next to a crying waitress, treating her like she was important, like she was human. He stayed there next to her, not seeming to care about his expensive clothes or what people might think. He did not look around at the other customers. He did not check his phone. He just focused on her, making sure she was okay. "Can you stand up?" he asked gently. "Let us get you off this floor." Sarah nodded. Her legs felt shaky, but she tried to push herself up. He stood up first, then reached down and offered her his hand. She hesitated for just a second, then took it. His hand was warm and strong, and he helped pull her to her feet. As soon as she was standing, her manager Richard rushed over. His face was red and his eyes were wide. He looked panicked. "Sir, I am so sorry," Richard said quickly, speaking to the actor. "This is completely unacceptable. I apologize for this behavior. She will be..." The actor held up his hand, cutting Richard off. "She will be what?" His voice was still calm, but there was something firm in it now. Something that made Richard stop talking immediately. Richard swallowed. "I just meant that she made a mistake," the actor said. "People make mistakes. It happens. There is no need to make this into something bigger than it is." Sarah stood there feeling like she was in a dream, or maybe a different universe. The actor was defending her. To her manager, this could not be real. Richard opened his mouth, then closed it. He did not seem to know what to say. Finally, he managed, "Of course, yes, of course. I will have another meal prepared for you immediately. On the house." "Absolutely free," the actor nodded. "That would be nice. Thank you." Then he turned back to Sarah. "Are you okay now?" She nodded quickly. Yes, I am okay." "Thank you. Thank you so much." Other servers had started cleaning up the mess on the floor. Maria was there with a mop. Tom had a broom. They worked quickly and quietly, sweeping up the broken pieces and wiping away the spilled food. Sarah felt grateful that they were helping, but she also felt embarrassed that they had to clean up her mistake. The actor seemed to notice her looking at the mess. "Do not worry about that," he said. "They have it covered. Are you sure you are okay? You look very tired." Sarah was surprised that he noticed. Then again, she probably looked terrible. Her eyes were red from crying. Her face was probably puffy. Her uniform was stained with sauce. "She was a mess. I am fine," she said automatically. It was what she always said, even when it was not true. He looked at her for a long moment. His eyes were kind, but they were also smart. He could tell she was not fine. Anyone could tell. But he did not push. Instead, he said, "Why don't you take a break? Sit down for a few minutes." Richard started to protest. "Sir, she has other tables to—" The actor looked at Richard. He did not say anything. He just looked at him. And somehow that look was enough. Richard stopped talking and nodded. Yes, of course. Sarah, take a break. 10 minutes. The actor gestured toward the corner of the restaurant, away from all the people and the noise. "Come on," he said to Sarah. "Let us get you away from all these eyes." Sarah felt like her body was moving without her permission. She followed him to the quiet corner, past tables full of people who were still watching with curious expressions. She could not believe this was happening. She could not believe he was being so nice. She could not believe he was not angry at all. When they reached the corner, he pulled out a chair for her. "Sit," he said. "Please," she sat. Her legs were grateful to stop holding her up. She felt exhausted, more exhausted than she had felt even a few minutes ago. Maybe it was because the fear and panic were leaving her body, and now there was just tiredness left behind. He sat down across from her. They were at a small table, far from everyone else. She could still feel people looking at them, but it was not as bad here. "Not as overwhelming. Better?" he asked. She nodded. Then she said again, "I am really sorry." "About your dinner," he smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. "You have already apologized. You do not need to keep apologizing. I promise it is okay." Sarah looked down at her hands in her lap. They were still shaking a little. "I have been working double shifts," she heard herself say. She did not know why she was telling him this. "I am just really tired. I can see that," he said quietly. "Why are you working so much?" It was a simple question, but Sarah felt something break inside her when he asked it. Maybe it was because he asked with such genuine care. Maybe it was because she had not talked to anyone about this in so long. Maybe it was because she was just too tired to keep it all inside anymore. The tears came back, but she started talking anyway. Sarah looked at the actor sitting across from her. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. She should not be talking to him about her problems. He was a customer. A famous customer. He did not need to hear about her life. But something about the way he looked at her made her feel safe. Made her feel like maybe it was okay to tell the truth. "My mother is sick," she said. Her voice was quiet and shaky. "She has cancer. She has been in the hospital for 2 months now, and the bills just keep coming. Insurance does not cover everything. There are so many costs, medicine, tests, treatments. The numbers are so big that I cannot even think about them without feeling sick myself." The actor listened. He did not interrupt. He did not look away. He just sat there and listened, like what she was saying really mattered to him. "I am working as much as I can," Sarah continued. "Morning shifts, night shifts, weekends. I pick up extra hours whenever anyone offers, because I do not know what else to do. I do not know how else to pay for it all. My mother raised me by herself. She worked 3 jobs to put me through school. She gave up everything for me, and now she needs help, and I am the only one who can help her." She stopped talking for a moment. The words were stuck in her throat. She felt embarrassed. Here she was telling her sad story to a complete stranger. A rich, famous stranger who probably could not understand what it was like to worry about money. Who probably had never worked double shifts at a restaurant or wondered how to pay a bill. But when she looked up at his face, she did not see pity. She did not see boredom or discomfort. She saw understanding, real understanding, and that surprised her. "How long have you been doing this?" he asked. "Working these double shifts?" 3 weeks straight, Sarah admitted. "Sometimes I work 16 hours in a day. I go home, sleep for a few hours, then come back. I know it is not healthy. I know I am exhausted. But every hour I work is money for my mother. Every tip I get goes into the fund for her medical bills. I cannot stop. If I stop, I fall behind. If I fall behind, I do not know what happens." The actor nodded slowly. He looked down at his hands on the table. "The system is broken," he said quietly. "It makes people like you work until you break. It makes you choose between your own health and taking care of someone you love. It makes you feel guilty for being human, for being tired, for making a mistake." Sarah was surprised. She had expected him to say something polite, something nice but empty. Instead, he sounded angry. Not at her, but at the situation, at the way things were. "My mother was sick too," he said, looking back up at her. "A long time ago, before I became this." He gestured at himself, meaning the fame, the success, the money. She had heart problems, needed surgery. We did not have insurance. We did not have savings. We barely had anything. Sarah stared at him. She had not expected this. She had not expected him to share something so personal. I was working at a restaurant then, he continued. Just like you. Waiting tables, washing dishes, whatever they needed. I worked every shift I could get. My brother worked too. My sister worked too. We all worked, and we still could not make enough money fast enough. The bills kept coming and we kept falling behind. It was like drowning in slow motion. He paused. Sarah could see pain in his eyes. Old pain. The kind that never fully goes away. One day I was carrying a tray of desserts, he said, and now there was a small, sad smile on his face. It was a wedding. A big, fancy wedding at a hotel, and I dropped the entire wedding cake. It was not even my fault. Someone bumped into me, but it did not matter. The bride's mother screamed at me, called me names, said I had ruined her daughter's special day. I stood there covered in cake and frosting, feeling like the biggest failure in the world. Sarah felt her heart squeeze. She knew that feeling. She had just felt it a few minutes ago. Did you get fired? She asked. Almost, he said. But my boss was kind. He told the bride's family that accidents happen. He offered to pay for a new cake. He defended me. And that moment changed something in me. Because I realized that most people, when something goes wrong, they get angry. They blame. They make things worse. But some people, the good ones, they show grace. They show kindness. They remember that we are all just human beings trying our best. Sarah understood what he was saying. He was telling her that she was not a failure, that dropping the tray did not define her, that everyone makes mistakes, even famous movie stars who now had all the money in the world. How did you pay for your mother's surgery? She asked. We borrowed money from everyone we knew, he said. Family, friends, even neighbors. We promised to pay them back someday. It took years, but we did. After I started getting acting work, after I started making real money, the first thing I did was pay back everyone who had helped us. Every single person. He leaned forward a little. Your mother is lucky to have you. You know that, right? Not everyone would work themselves to exhaustion like this. Not everyone would sacrifice so much. Sarah felt tears coming again, but she blinked them away. I just wish I could do more. I wish I made more money. I wish I could pay all the bills and make her better and not have to worry all the time. I know, he said softly. That feeling does not go away. Even now, even with everything I have, I still sometimes wake up at night worried about money, worried about taking care of my family. Those fears get planted deep inside you when you go through something like this. They sat in silence for a moment. Sarah felt strange. She felt lighter somehow, like sharing her burden with someone who understood had made it a little easier to carry. She had not talked to anyone about how scared she was, how tired she was, how much it hurt to watch her mother suffer while bills piled up higher and higher. Her co-workers knew she was working a lot, but they did not know why. Her friends had stopped calling because she was always too busy to see them. She had been carrying all of this alone, and it had been crushing her slowly. Does your mother know how hard you are working? The actor asked. Sarah shook her head. No. She would tell me to stop. She would say she does not want me to hurt myself for her. But what else can I do? She is my mother. She is all I have. She is lucky, he said again. And you are strong. Stronger than you probably realize, Sarah almost laughed. I do not feel strong. I feel like I am barely holding on. That is what strength is, he said. Holding on when everything tells you to let go. Getting up every morning even when you are exhausted. Doing what needs to be done even when it is hard. That is real strength. Not the kind they show in movies. The real kind. Sarah looked at him. This man who played heroes on the big screen, who fought bad guys and saved the world in his films, and here he was, telling her that she was strong, that working double shifts at a restaurant was heroic in its own way. The actor stood up. Wait here for just a minute, he said. I need to make a phone call. I will be right back. Before Sarah could say anything, he walked away. She watched him go, confused. She sat there in the corner, still feeling shaky and tired, but also somehow different. Somehow a little bit better than she had felt in weeks. People in the restaurant were still watching her, but their expressions had changed. They were not looking at her with amusement or pity anymore. They looked curious, confused. They had seen the famous actor sit and talk with her for several minutes. They had seen him treat her like she mattered. Maria walked by with a tray of drinks. She stopped for a second. Are you okay? She whispered. Sarah nodded. I think so. I do not really understand what is happening, but I am okay. Maria smiled. He seems nice. Really nice. Not like some of the famous people who come in here. He is, Sarah agreed. He is very nice. Maria hurried away to deliver her drinks. Sarah sat alone for a minute, thinking about everything the actor had told her, about his mother, about dropping the wedding cake, about working at restaurants and struggling with money. It helped to know that someone understood, that someone who had made it, who had succeeded, remembered what it was like to be where she was now. The actor came back. He was holding his phone in one hand. He sat down across from her again, and there was something different in his expression now. Something determined. I made some calls, he said, and I want to do something. But I need you to not argue with me. Can you do that? Sarah felt nervous suddenly. What do you mean? Promise me you will not argue, he said. Promise me you will let me help. Help with what? She asked. Her heart was beating fast. He looked at her seriously. I want to help with your mother's medical bills, and I want you to let me without feeling guilty or trying to refuse. Sarah's mouth fell open. She stared at him. She could not have heard that right. She could not have understood correctly. Sarah could not speak. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. She just stared at the actor with wide eyes, trying to understand what he had just said. Help with her mother's medical bills? That could not be right. She must have misunderstood. I know what you are thinking, he said, his voice gentle but firm. You are thinking that you cannot accept help from a stranger. You are thinking that it is too much. You are thinking about pride and independence and all those things we tell ourselves when we are struggling. But I need you to push those thoughts aside for a minute and just listen to me. Sarah finally found her voice. I cannot ask you to do that. You do not even know me. You do not know my mother. This is not your problem. You did not ask, he pointed out. I am offering. There is a difference. He leaned forward, his expression serious. I made some phone calls while I was away. The first one was to a friend of mine who works at a medical billing advocacy organization. Do you know what that is? Sarah shook her head. She felt like she was in shock. Nothing about this night was making sense anymore. They are people who help patients deal with hospital bills, he explained. They review the charges, find mistakes, negotiate with hospitals and insurance companies. You would be surprised how often hospitals overcharge or insurance companies deny claims that should be covered. My friend has agreed to look at your mother's medical bills for free. She will review everything and fight to get those bills reduced. For free? Sarah repeated. That did not sound real. Nothing was free, especially not professional help. For free, he confirmed. She owes me a favor and she is good at what she does. Really good. She has helped a lot of people reduce their medical debt by 30, 40, sometimes even 50%. Sarah felt dizzy. 50%? That would be thousands of dollars, maybe tens of thousands. But she was still stuck on one thing. Why are you doing this? You do not even know me. The actor was quiet for a moment. He looked at her with those kind eyes and she could see him thinking about how to answer. Finally, he said, You remind me of my sister. Your sister? Yes, she worked herself sick taking care of our mother. Just like you are doing now. She worked 3 jobs. She barely slept. She cried herself to sleep at night because she was so worried and so tired, but she did not want anyone to know. She kept smiling, kept pretending everything was fine, kept pushing herself harder and harder. He paused. Sarah could hear the emotion in his voice, even though he was trying to keep it controlled. One day she collapsed at work. He continued. Her body just gave out. She ended up in the hospital, in a bed right next to our mother. That was when I realized that the system does not just hurt the people who are sick. It hurts the people who love them too. It breaks the caregivers. It destroys the children and siblings and spouses who are just trying to help someone they love. Sarah felt tears running down her face again. She understood. She understood exactly what he was saying because she felt it every single day. The weight of it. The pressure. The fear that she would not be enough. That she would fail her mother. That she would break before she could save her. I do not want that to happen to you, he said softly. When I saw you drop that tray, when I saw you fall apart, I did not see a clumsy waitress. I saw someone who was working themselves to death. I saw my sister. I saw myself all those years ago when I was doing the same thing. But I am a stranger, Sarah said again. She did not understand why he cared so much. So what? He asked. Does that mean I should not help? Does that mean I should just sit here, eat my dinner, and watch you destroy yourself? I have the ability to help. I have resources. I have connections. I have money. And you need help. It is really that simple. Simple. Nothing about this felt simple to Sarah. This was a movie star. A man who lived in a different world than she did. A world of expensive cars and big houses and private jets. What could he possibly understand about her life? But then she remembered what he had told her about his mother. About working at restaurants. About dropping the wedding cake. About borrowing money from everyone he knew just to pay for surgery. He did understand. He had lived it. He had been exactly where she was now. I called someone else too, he said. A friend who runs a foundation. They help people with medical expenses. They provide grants. That means money that does not need to be paid back. I told him about your situation and he wants to help. Sarah put her face in her hands. This was too much. It was all too much. She could not process it. A few minutes ago she had been on the floor, surrounded by broken plates, sure that she was about to lose her job. And now this man was telling her that he had made phone calls, arranged help, found people who could reduce her bills and give her money. It felt like a dream, or a hallucination. Maybe she had hit her head when the tray fell. Hey, he said gently, look at me. She lifted her face from her hands and looked at him through tear-blurred vision. I know this is overwhelming, he said. I know it feels like too much, but you need to let people help you. You cannot do this alone. Nobody can do this alone. It is okay to accept help. But why? She asked. Her voice came out as a whisper. Why would you do all of this for me? He smiled. It was a sad smile, but also a warm one. Because someone helped me once. When my mother was sick, when we had no money, a man I barely knew wrote us a check. Just wrote it and handed it to me. He said he had been poor once too. He said he remembered what it felt like. And he said that when you have enough, you should help people who do not have enough. That is how the world should work. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. Sarah watched as he took out a folded piece of paper. No, not paper, a check. He set it on the table between them and slid it toward her. Do not look at it yet, he said. Just listen to me first. Sarah stared at the check on the table. She was afraid to touch it. Afraid to look at it. Afraid of what it might mean. I want you to take this, he said. Use it to catch up on bills. Use it to take some time off work so you can rest. Use it to be with your mother without worrying about money every single second. This is not a loan. You do not owe me anything. You will never owe me anything. This is just one human being helping another human being. That is all. I cannot, Sarah whispered. But even as she said it, she was thinking about her mother, thinking about the bills, thinking about all those nights she lay awake adding up numbers and coming up short, thinking about how good it would feel to not be so afraid all the time. Yes, you can, he said firmly, and you will, because you need it, because your mother needs it, because you deserve help just as much as anyone else in the world. Sarah looked at him, really looked at him. She saw kindness in his face. She saw genuine care. She saw someone who remembered what it was like to struggle, and who wanted to make sure she did not have to struggle alone. Slowly, with shaking hands, she reached out and picked up the check. She unfolded it carefully, and when she saw the number written on it, she stopped breathing. It was enough to cover 3 months of her mother's treatments. Maybe more. It was more money than she made in 6 months of working double shifts. It was more money than she had ever held in her hands. It was enough to change everything. I cannot take this, she said, but her voice had no strength in it. She was holding the check like it was made of glass, like it might disappear if she held it too tight. You already are, he said with a small smile. It is in your hands now. It is yours, but this is too much. He held up his hand, stopping her. Remember what I said? No arguing. You promised. I did not actually promise, Sarah pointed out, even though she was crying and smiling at the same time now. He laughed. It was a warm, genuine laugh. Okay, you got me there. But I am asking you now. Please take it. Please let me help. It would make me happy to know that you and your mother have some breathing room, some peace, some hope. Sarah looked down at the check again. She thought about her mother in the hospital bed. Her mother who had worked 3 jobs to raise her alone. Her mother who had sacrificed everything so Sarah could have a better life. Her mother, who was sick and scared and probably worried about money even while she was fighting cancer. She thought about the bills on her kitchen table, the notices, the phone calls from collection agencies, the weight of it all pressing down on her chest every single day, making it hard to breathe. And she thought about this man sitting across from her. This stranger who was not really a stranger anymore. This person who had seen her at her worst and had responded with kindness instead of anger, who had shared his own pain, who had made phone calls and arranged help and written a check that could change her life. "Thank you," she finally whispered. It felt like such small words for such a big thing. "Thank you so much." The actor smiled at her. Not a movie star smile, just a regular warm human smile. "You are welcome. And I am not done yet." Sarah looked up at him confused. What more could there possibly be? He had already done so much, too much, more than she could ever repay. He pulled his phone out of his pocket again. "I want to give you some numbers. Important numbers. People who can help you going forward." He opened his contacts and started scrolling through. "First, this is Linda. She is the medical billing advocate I told you about. I am going to text you her number right now. What is your phone number?" Sarah told him, her voice still shaky. She watched as he typed into his phone. A few seconds later, her own phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out and saw a text from an unknown number. It had a name, Linda Chen, and a phone number. "Call her tomorrow," he said. "Tell her I sent you. She is expecting to hear from you. She will need copies of all your mother's medical bills, insurance statements, everything. Send her all of it. She will review it all and start making calls. She is tough. She does not take no for an answer. Hospitals and insurance companies do not like dealing with her because she actually knows the law, and she is not afraid to fight." Sarah nodded, still trying to process everything. She saved the contact in her phone with trembling fingers. "Second," he continued, scrolling through his phone again. "This is Robert Martinez. He runs the foundation I told you about. They provide grants to families dealing with medical crises." He typed again, and Sarah's phone buzzed once more. "He wants you to fill out an application. I know, more paperwork, but it is worth it. They have helped hundreds of families. They might be able to cover some of your mother's ongoing treatment costs." "Ongoing?" Sarah repeated. She had been so focused on the current bills that she had not let herself think too much about the future. About the fact that cancer treatment did not just stop. It went on for months. Sometimes years, yes, he said gently. "I know you are taking this one day at a time, but it helps to have support lined up for the long term too. Robert's Foundation, they do not just give money once. If your mother needs continued treatment, they can provide ongoing support." "It is what they do." Sarah felt overwhelmed again, but it was a different kind of overwhelmed now. Not the crushing, drowning kind. This was more like standing under a waterfall of kindness and not knowing how to receive it all. "Third," the actor said, "and this one is just as important as the others. I want you to promise me something." "What?" Sarah asked. "I want you to take some time off work. Real time off. At least a few days. Maybe a week. You need to rest. You need to sleep. You need to be with your mother without worrying about getting to your next shift." Sarah immediately shook her head. "I cannot do that. I need to work. Even with what you have given me, I still need my job. I still need my paycheck." "I know," he said. "I am not saying quit your job. I am saying take a break. A short break. Talk to your manager. Tell him you need a few days off for a family emergency. It is the truth. Your mother has cancer. That is an emergency." Sarah thought about Richard. Her manager was not known for being understanding. He cared about the restaurant running smoothly. He cared about having enough staff. He did not care much about personal problems. The actor seemed to read her mind. "If your manager gives you trouble, you tell him to call me. I will explain to him that you need this time. And if he still gives you trouble, you tell me. I know people. I can make some calls." Sarah almost laughed. The idea of her manager getting a phone call from a famous actor was absurd. But also she realized the actor was serious. He really would make that call if she needed him to. "You cannot keep running on empty," he continued. "You are going to make yourself sick. And then who will take care of your mother? You need to take care of yourself so you can take care of her. Do you understand?" Sarah nodded slowly. She did understand. She had been ignoring her own health for weeks. Skipping meals. Not sleeping enough. Her body was tired all the time. Her head hurt constantly. She had been telling herself she would rest later, after she had enough money saved after her mother was better. But later never came. There was always another shift. Always another bill. Good, he said. He reached into his wallet again. This time he pulled out a business card. He took a pen from his pocket and wrote something on the back of the card. Then he handed it to her. Sarah looked at the card. The front had his name, his agent's contact information, and a logo. The back had a handwritten note in neat printing. It said, "You are stronger than you know. Keep going." She stared at those words, such simple words. But they hit her right in the heart. She had not felt strong. She had felt weak and scared and like she was failing. But here was someone telling her she was strong. Someone who had no reason to lie to her. "Keep that," he said. "And if you ever need anything, if you run into problems with the medical bills or the foundation or anything, you can reach out. My agent's number is on the front. Leave a message and someone will get back to you." "You would really do that?" Sarah asked. "You would really let me contact you?" "Yes," he said simply. "I know what it is like to feel alone in this, to feel like you are drowning and nobody cares. I do not want you to feel that way. You have help now. You have people in your corner. Use them." Sarah held the card carefully like it was precious. In a way it was. It was proof that this had really happened. That this conversation was real. That this kindness was real. The actor stood up from the table. "I should probably let you get back to work. Or better yet, let you go home and rest." Sarah stood up too. She still felt shaky, but different now. Like she was shaky from relief instead of fear. "I do not know how to thank you. I do not know what to say," he smiled at her. "You do not need to say anything. Just take care of yourself and your mother. That is all the thanks I need." Before Sarah could think about it, she stepped forward and hugged him. She knew it was probably inappropriate. He was a customer, a famous person, a stranger, but she could not help it. He had just changed her life, and she needed him to know how much it meant. He did not seem to mind. He hugged her back, a gentle, warm hug that felt safe and kind. "It is going to be okay," he said softly. "I promise it is going to be okay." When they pulled apart, Sarah was crying again. But these were good tears. Happy tears. Relief tears. Grateful tears. "Now go," he said. "Go home, get some sleep. Visit your mother tomorrow. And call Linda, start getting those bills sorted out." Sarah nodded. "I will. I will do all of that." She turned to leave, but then she stopped and looked back at him. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said. "Why do you do this?" "I mean, I know you explained about your sister and your mother, but you could have just given me money and left. You did not have to give me contacts and advice. You did not have to write me a note. You did not have to care this much." He was quiet for a moment, thinking about his answer. Then he said, "Because I remember what it feels like to be invisible. When you are poor, when you are struggling, most people look right through you. They do not see you as a real person with real feelings and real dreams. They see you as the help, as someone who serves them and then disappears." He paused, and Sarah could see emotion in his eyes. "When I dropped that wedding cake all those years ago," he continued, "my boss could have just paid for a new cake and sent me home. But he did not. He talked to me. He asked me what was wrong. He listened to my story, and then he helped me. Not just with money, but with real support. He connected me with people. He gave me advice. He treated me like I mattered, and that changed everything for me." "It made you want to help others the same way," Sarah said softly. "Exactly," he agreed. "Success is not just about making money or becoming famous. It is about remembering where you came from. It is about using what you have to make life a little easier for people who are where you used to be. It is about seeing people, really seeing them." Sarah understood. She felt seen right now. For the first time in weeks, maybe months, she felt like someone had really looked at her and cared about what they saw. "Thank you," she said again. "For seeing me," he nodded. "Take care of yourself, Sarah. You deserve good things." As Sarah walked away, she felt different. The restaurant looked the same. The people looked the same, but she was different. She had walked in tonight feeling like she was drowning, and now she felt like someone had thrown her a life raft. She went to find Richard. She needed to talk to him about taking a few days off. For the first time in weeks, she felt like maybe, just maybe, everything really would be okay. And slowly, Sarah started to heal. Not just her body, though that got better too, but her spirit, her hope, her belief that life could be good again. 3 weeks after that night at the restaurant, Linda called Sarah with news. She had reviewed all the medical bills. She had found mistakes. Lots of mistakes. She had negotiated with the hospital and the insurance company. The bills were reduced by 40%. Thousands and thousands of dollars just gone, just erased, because someone had known how to fight, because someone had cared enough to look closely and push back. A month after that, Robert's Foundation approved Sarah's application. They would provide a grant to cover her mother's ongoing treatment costs for the next 6 months. 6 months of not having to worry about how to pay for chemotherapy. 6 months of breathing room. Sarah's mother started getting better. The treatments were working. The doctors were hopeful. And Sarah was able to cut back on her hours at work. She still worked hard, but she did not work double shifts anymore. She ate real meals. She slept real sleep. She took care of herself so she could take care of her mother. 6 months after that night, Sarah's mother was declared cancer-free. The doctors said it could come back, that they would need to do regular checkups. But for now, she was healthy. She was alive. She was going home. Sarah drove her mother home from the hospital on a sunny Tuesday afternoon. Her mother looked out the window and smiled at the trees and the sky and all the normal, beautiful things in the world. "I missed this," she said. "I missed being alive. I missed having you alive," Sarah said, and they both cried happy tears. That night, Sarah sat at her kitchen table. The stack of medical bills was gone. The stress was gone. The fear was gone. In their place was peace, hope, gratitude. She pulled out the business card from that night, the one with the note on the back. "You are stronger than you know. Keep going." She had looked at that card so many times over the past 6 months. Whenever she felt tired, whenever she felt scared, whenever she wanted to give up, and she had kept going. Just like the note said, she had been stronger than she knew. She had made it through. Her mother had made it through. They had survived because someone had been kind, because someone had helped, because someone had seen her when she felt invisible. Sarah decided that day that she would do the same thing. She would help people. She would be kind. She would see people who felt invisible. She did not have movie star money, but she had time. She had compassion. She had understanding of what it felt like to struggle. She started volunteering at a support group for families dealing with medical crises. She shared Linda's contact information with other people who were drowning in bills. She told them about Robert's Foundation. She listened to their stories. She held their hands when they cried. She reminded them that they were stronger than they knew. 2 years later, Sarah's mother was still healthy. Sarah had been promoted to manager at the restaurant. She did not work double shifts anymore. She had savings in the bank. She had friends. She had a life that felt stable and good. But she never forgot that night, the night she dropped the tray. The night she thought her world was ending. The night a stranger had shown her kindness when she needed it most. The night that had changed everything. She kept the business card in a frame on her dresser. Every morning when she woke up, she saw those words. "You are stronger than you know. Keep going." And every morning she did. She kept going. She kept being strong. And she kept passing that kindness forward to others who needed it. Because that is what the actor had taught her. Not just that people can be kind, but that kindness matters. That seeing people matters. That one person caring can change another person's entire life. And that when you have been helped, when you have been saved, you have a responsibility to help and save others. Sarah never saw the actor again. He probably did not remember her. He probably helped a lot of people. But she remembered him. She would remember him for the rest of her life. Not because he was famous. Not because he was in movies. But because when she was broken on the floor, he had knelt down beside her and reminded her that she was human, that she mattered, that she was worth helping, and that had made all the difference. Sarah sat in her car in the restaurant parking lot. Her hands were shaking as she pulled the check out of her pocket and looked at it again. The number was still there, real, written in ink. She had not imagined it. This had really happened. She started crying again, but she did not try to stop the tears this time. She let them fall. She cried for all the stress of the past 2 months. She cried for her mother lying in a hospital bed. She cried for all the nights she had worked until her feet bled. She cried because someone had been kind to her. Because someone had helped her. Because for the first time in so long she did not feel completely alone. When the tears finally stopped, Sarah looked at the business card he had given her. She read the words on the back again. You are stronger than you know. Keep going. She decided right then that she would keep this card forever. She would put it somewhere safe where she could look at it whenever she felt weak or scared or like giving up. Sarah drove home that night going exactly the speed limit. She was terrified of getting pulled over, of having an accident, of anything happening to this check in her pocket. It felt like she was carrying something precious and fragile. Because she was. She was carrying hope. When she got home to her small apartment, she did not turn on the television like she usually did. She did not collapse into bed. Instead, she sat at her kitchen table and looked at the stack of medical bills she had been avoiding. All those envelopes, all those numbers, all that fear and stress sitting there in a pile. But now for the first time she did not feel crushed by them. She felt like she could handle them. She had help now. She had resources. She had people she could call. She was not facing this alone anymore. Sarah picked up her phone and called her mother. It was late, but her mother was usually awake. The cancer and the treatments made it hard for her to sleep. Hello? Her mother's voice sounded tired but happy to hear from her. Hi, Mom, Sarah said. How are you feeling? Oh, you know, same as always. A little tired. A little sore. But I am okay. How was work tonight, honey? Sarah almost told her. Almost told her everything that had happened. About dropping the tray. About the actor. About the check. About all the help that was coming. But she stopped herself. Her mother would worry. She would feel guilty. She would tell Sarah not to accept help from strangers. She would make it into a bigger deal than it needed to be. Work was interesting, Sarah said instead. But Mom, I want to tell you something. I am going to take some time off. A few days, maybe a week. I am going to come visit you every day. We can watch movies together. I can read to you. We can just spend time together without me worrying about getting to my next shift. Sarah, no, her mother said immediately. You cannot take time off. You need the money. You need to work. I know, Mom, but I also need to see you. And I am tired. Really tired. I need a little break and then I will go back to work refreshed. Okay? Her mother was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Are you sure? Are you sure we can afford it? Yes, Sarah said firmly. And it was true. With the check in her pocket, with the help that was coming, they could afford it. They could afford for her to rest. They could afford for her to be a daughter instead of just a worker. I'm sure, Mom. I promise everything is going to be okay. They talked for a few more minutes. Sarah told her mother about the funny thing one of the regular customers had said. Her mother told her about the nice nurse who had brought her extra blankets. Normal things. Regular conversation. It felt good. It felt normal. And Sarah realized how much she had missed normal. After they hung up, Sarah went to bed. She set her alarm for late morning instead of early morning. Tomorrow she would not work. Tomorrow she would go to the bank and deposit the check. She would call Linda about the medical bills. She would fill out the application for the foundation. She would visit her mother, but tonight she would sleep. Really sleep. For the first time in weeks, she fell asleep without her stomach hurting from worry. The next morning, Sarah woke up naturally. No alarm. Just her body deciding it had slept enough. She looked at the clock and was shocked to see it was almost 10 in the morning. She had slept for 11 hours. 11 whole hours. She could not remember the last time she had done that. She felt different. Rested. Her head did not hurt. Her body did not ache as much. She actually felt hungry in a normal way, not the sick, exhausted way she had been feeling. Sarah made herself breakfast. Real breakfast. Not just coffee and whatever leftover bread she could grab. She made eggs and toast. She sat at her table and ate slowly, not rushing. It felt strange, but good. Really good. Then she got dressed and drove to the bank. The check was still in her wallet, exactly where she had put it. She walked up to the teller with shaking hands and deposited it. The teller did not react to the amount. To her, it was just another transaction. But to Sarah, it was everything. After the bank, Sarah called Linda, the medical billing advocate. Linda answered on the second ring. Hello, this is Linda Chen. Hi, my name is Sarah. You were told I might call. About medical bills. Oh, yes. Linda's voice was warm and friendly. I have been expecting your call. Tell me everything. Start from the beginning, so Sarah did. She told Linda about her mother's cancer, about the hospital stays, about the treatments, About the bills that kept coming. About the insurance that did not cover everything. Linda listened carefully, asking questions and taking notes. "Okay," Linda said when Sarah was finished. "This is what we are going to do. I need you to send me copies of everything. Every bill, every insurance statement, every notice you have received. Can you do that?" "Yes," Sarah said. "I have it all here." "Good, send it all to my email. I will go through it with a fine-tooth comb. I can almost guarantee we will find errors. Hospitals make mistakes all the time. They charge for things they should not charge for. They code things wrong. Insurance companies deny claims they should approve. It is my job to catch all of that and fix it." Sarah felt a weight lifting off her shoulders. Someone was going to help. Someone who knew what they were doing. Someone who was not scared or confused like she was. "How long will it take?" Sarah asked. "Give me about a week to review everything. Then I will start making calls. Some of this will be quick. Some of it might take a few weeks. But I promise you, I will fight for every dollar. I do not give up easily." Sarah believed her. There was something tough in Linda's voice. Something determined. Sarah would not want to be the hospital worker who had to argue with this woman. After hanging up with Linda, Sarah filled out the application for Robert's Foundation. It asked a lot of questions. About her mother's illness. About their financial situation. About their income and expenses. It took almost an hour to complete, but Sarah did it carefully. She wanted to make sure everything was correct. When she was done, she sent it off. Then she got in her car and drove to the hospital. Her mother was sitting up in bed when Sarah walked in. She smiled when she saw her daughter. "You look different," she said. "You look rested." "I am," Sarah admitted. "I actually slept last night." "Really slept?" "Good," her mother said. "You needed it. You have been working yourself too hard." Sarah pulled a chair up to the bed and sat down. She held her mother's hand. It felt thin and fragile, but warm, alive. "How are you feeling today, Mom?" "Better now that you are here," her mother said. "Tell me what you want to do today. Do you want to watch a movie? Do you want me to teach you how to make my lasagna recipe?" "Oh wait, I cannot cook in here." "How silly of me," they both laughed. It was the first time Sarah had laughed in weeks. It felt good. It felt normal. It felt like maybe things could be normal again someday. They spent the whole day together. They watched old movies on the hospital television. They talked about memories from when Sarah was little. They made plans for what they would do when her mother got better. Where they would go, what they would eat. Small dreams, but they were theirs. Sarah came back the next day, and the day after that. For a whole week she visited her mother every single day. They grew closer during that time. They talked about things they had never talked about before. Real things. Deep things. Important things.